Tyler waited until the DJ dropped Mary J. before leaning across the plastic table at the family cookout and saying real casual, "Yeah, I sold Grandma's house. Me and Nicole need the cash." Everybody froze, chicken wings midair. "Big Mama's boy, what you say?" Cut through the music as her lawyer cousin stood up, deed in hand, smiling. But that smile wasn't for Tyler. It was for me, Shanice, standing there with a plate of mac and cheese going cold in my hands while the entire backyard held its breath. The brownstone. Big Mama's 145-year-old Harlem brownstone on 125th Street. The one with the lion head door knockers and the stoop where Malcolm used to speak back in the day. According to family legend. Tyler sold it. Just like that. Sold our legacy like it was a pair of used Jordans. I felt my throat tighten. Tasted the sweet tea I'd been sipping turn bitter on my tongue. The air smelled like charcoal smoke, Lori's seasoning salt, and about to be some mess. My cousin Renee, the paralegal nobody ever paid attention to because she was always quiet, always in the corner with her nose in some legal document, was standing now, her burnt orange maxi dress catching the late afternoon sun. She had her leather portfolio in hand, the expensive one she'd bought herself after passing the bar exam. And her face was calm. Too calm. "Tyler," she said, her voice cutting through the Anita Baker now playing low. "You can't sell what you don't own, baby." My heart started pounding. Around us, aunties were sucking their teeth, uncles were setting down their beers, and the kids playing tag near the fence had stopped to watch. This was about to be either my salvation or my humiliation, and I didn't know which. Tyler laughed. That same arrogant laugh he'd been using since we were kids when he'd steal the last piece of sweet potato pie and blame it on me. "Man, please. I got the papers right here in my car. Signed, sealed, delivered. Me and Nicole closing next week." Nicole, his girlfriend of 8 months, was standing behind him in her too tight jeans and fresh bundles, looking like she'd rather be anywhere else. I wanted to feel sorry for her, but she'd known what she was getting into. Big Mama, who was sitting in her special chair, the one we'd carried down from the parlor because her knees couldn't handle the stairs anymore, was staring at Tyler like she was seeing him for the first time. Really seeing him. And what she saw was breaking her heart. I could tell by the way her hand gripped her church fan, the one with Dr. King's picture on it. "Shanice," Renee said, turning to me, "you got a choice to make right now. We can handle this quiet family style, or we can let everybody know what's really going on." The choice hung in the air between us like smoke from the grill. I could stay silent, let Tyler think he'd won, and deal with this later in some lawyer's office in Midtown where nobody would see our dirty laundry. Or I could stand up right here, right now, in front of 3 generations of Washingtons and fight for what was mine. My phone buzzed in my pocket, my boss probably, wondering why I hadn't answered her email about the Monday morning meeting. My corporate life, my Midtown office with the view of the Hudson, my tailored suits and my calendar full of HR strategy sessions. All of it felt a million miles away from this backyard, from the plastic lawn chairs and the folding tables covered in aluminum foil. I worked so hard to get out, to be more than just another Harlem girl. And now I had to decide if I was willing to fight to come back. "Tell them," I said, my voice stronger than I felt. "Tell everybody what you know, Renee." Tyler's smile faltered. Just for a second, but I saw it. And that's when Renee opened her portfolio and pulled out a document that would change everything. The next 4 days were a masterclass in humiliation. I tried everything. The family route, the respectful route, the route Big Mama would have wanted. I called Tyler 37 times. He sent every single call to voicemail. I showed up at his apartment in Washington Heights at 7:30 in the morning, still in my work clothes from an overnight strategy session. And he wouldn't even open the door. Just yelled through it that I was acting crazy and needed to let it go. Let it go. Like our family's history was a grudge, not a legacy. I organized a family meeting at Sylvia's restaurant on Malcolm X Boulevard. Paid for everybody's food out of my own pocket, $175 I didn't have budgeted, and Tyler showed up 45 minutes late with Nicole on his arm, smirking like he'd already won. He sat there, eating my money's worth of fried chicken and cornbread, and told me to my face that Big Mama had always intended for the men in the family to inherit the brownstone. "You got your fancy corporate job, Shanice," he said, wiping hot sauce from his mouth with the back of his hand. "You don't need it. Me and Nicole, We trying to build something. You wouldn't understand that, being single and focused on your career and all. The table went silent. My Aunt Brenda looked away. My Uncle Marcus cleared his throat, but didn't say anything. Even Renee, who'd promised me at the cookout that she had proof, was quiet, studying her collard greens like they held the secrets of the universe. I felt something crack inside my chest. Not my heart. I'd protected that too well over the years, through bad relationships and worse career moves. This was deeper. This was the part of me that believed family meant something, that blood was thicker than water, that the people who looked like you and grew up in the same house would have your back when it mattered. I'll buy you out, I finally said, hating how desperate I sounded. Whatever the buyer offered, I'll match it. We can keep it in the family. Tyler leaned back in his chair, toothpick between his teeth, and laughed. That same laugh. See, that's the thing, cousin. I already spent half the deposit. $15,000. Put it down on Nicole's condo in Hudson Yards. You know, where people actually want to live, not some old brownstone that need $120,000 in repairs. I wanted to flip the table. Wanted to reach across the fried okra and the mac and cheese and slap that smirk off his face. Instead, I stood up, grabbed my purse, and walked out into the Harlem afternoon, where the summer heat hit me like a physical thing and the smell of someone frying fish in their apartment made my stomach turn. I'd failed. Failed Big Mama. Failed myself. Failed to protect the one thing that mattered. My phone rang. My mother, probably calling to tell me to let it go, to stop making waves, to remember that Tyler was family too. I sent it to voicemail and kept walking down 125th Street, past the Apollo Theater where Big Mama used to take me to amateur night, past the vendors selling incense and oils, past the bookstore where I'd bought my first copy of Their Eyes Were Watching God. Everything felt like a memory now, like I was already mourning something I'd lost before I even knew it was mine to lose. Big Mama's church anniversary celebration fell on a Sunday that felt like the end of something. Abyssinian Baptist Church was packed, the choir was hitting notes that made grown men weep, and the repast afterward in the fellowship hall smelled like every comfort food known to Black America. Baked chicken, mac and cheese, greens swimming in pot liquor, sweet potato pie, and enough deviled eggs to feed Harlem twice over. Tyler was there, of course, sitting in the back with Nicole, both of them dressed like they were going to a club, not a church function. He'd been posting on Instagram all week about his new business ventures and his upgrade to Hudson Yards, tagging Nicole in every photo like she was a prize he'd won. I sat with Big Mama at the main table, helping her fix her plate, making sure her sweet tea was just how she liked it. 4 sugars, no ice. She hadn't said much to me since the cookout, and her silence hurt worse than anything Tyler had said. Big Mama, I whispered. I'm sorry I couldn't. She patted my hand, her skin soft and paper-thin, smelling like cocoa butter and rose water. Hush now, baby. The Lord got a plan. You just wait. That's when Renee stood up. The fellowship hall was loud, people laughing, kids running between tables, somebody's uncle telling the same story he'd told for 33 years. But somehow when Renee stood, the room quieted. She was wearing a navy blue suit, her natural hair pulled back in a perfect puff, and she had that leather portfolio again, held against her chest like a shield. Family, she said, her voice calm and clear. I got something to say and y'all need to hear it now. Tyler looked up from his phone, annoyed. Nicole whispered something to him, probably suggesting they leave, but he waved her off. He thought this was about me complaining again, about me being bitter. He had no idea. I've been Big Mama's legal executor for 4 years now, Renee continued, walking to the front of the hall. And 3 years ago, Big Mama made a decision about the brownstone. Tyler, you remember when you borrowed $8,000 from her for that business opportunity that never happened? When you promised to pay her back and never did. The room went silent. Tyler's face flushed. That was between me and her. And that's when Big Mama decided, Renee said, opening her portfolio and pulling out an official-looking document, to transfer the deed of the brownstone solely to Shanice Washington. Signed, notarized, and filed with the city 3 years ago. I stopped breathing. The room spun. Big Mama squeezed my hand. Tyler, Renee said, her voice deadly calm now, you can't sell what you don't own. And what you did, forging documents, accepting money from a buyer, pretending you had legal right to sell, that's fraud. Real estate fraud. The buyers already contacted their lawyer, and baby, you in a world of trouble. Tyler stood up so fast his chair fell backward. That's a lie. I got papers. You got papers you forged, Renee said, using Big Mama's old notary stamp from when she used to do church documents. I already gave copies to the buyer's attorney and to the district attorney's office. You're looking at criminal charges, Tyler. But that ain't even the worst part. She turned to me and for the first time she smiled. Shanice, you own that brownstone. Free and clear. And you have every right to press charges for what he did. I should have felt victorious. Should have felt vindicated. Instead I felt hollow. Because even in this moment, watching Tyler's face crumble, watching Nicole grab her purse and head for the door without looking back, I realized I'd lost something I could never get back. I'd spent 3 years climbing corporate ladders in Midtown while Big Mama was here, making decisions, protecting me in ways I didn't even know I needed protecting. And I'd missed it. Missed all of it. The brownstone looked different when I stood on the stoop 3 days later with the deed in my hand, and the keys Renee had given me at the repast. It was early morning, 7:15 to be exact, and 125th Street was just waking up. The bodega on the corner was opening, the smell of bacon and eggs drifting from someone's kitchen window, and a group of old men were already setting up for their daily chess game in the park across the street. I'd called in sick to work for the first time in 6 years. Told my boss I had a family emergency, which was true, just not in the way she thought. My phone had been blowing up with messages from Tyler. Angry ones, desperate ones, ones that tried to guilt me about destroying his life and tearing the family apart. I'd blocked his number after the 40-second message. Nicole had ghosted him the night of the repast, according to my Aunt Brenda's investigative work. Apparently, having a boyfriend facing fraud charges wasn't the upgrade she'd been looking for. The buyer was cooperating with authorities, furious at Tyler for wasting 7 weeks of their time and legal fees. And Big Mama? Big Mama was sitting in her favorite chair in the parlor when I walked in, the morning light streaming through the original stained glass windows, hitting the plastic runners that still protected her Persian rug. The good china was out, she'd made tea. For both of us. Sit down, baby, she said, her voice tired but warm. We need to talk. I sat, feeling like I was 10 years old again, about to get a lesson in what it meant to be a Washington woman. You thought I didn't see you, Big Mama said, pouring tea into cups that were older than my mother. Thought because you was up in that Midtown office in your fancy suits that you forgot where you came from. But I saw you, Shanice. Saw you sending money when you thought I didn't know. Saw you fixing my mortgage when I fell behind. Saw you being the only one who visited every single Sunday, even when you was tired from working 90-hour weeks. My throat tightened. But I left. You didn't leave, baby. You prepared. There's a difference. She handed me the teacup, and I noticed her hands were shaking. This house don't need somebody who gon' live in it and let it fall apart. It needs somebody who gon' protect it, who understand what it mean. Your cousin Tyler, he see dollar signs. You see generations. That's why I gave it to you. I sipped the tea too sweet, just like she always made it. And for the first time in weeks I felt something shift inside me. Not the cracking feeling from Sylvia's restaurant. This was different. This was something settling into place, like a bone-healing wrong for years finally being set right. I'm not selling it, I said. Big Mama smiled, the same smile she'd given me when I graduated college, when I'd gotten my first real job, when I'd made her proud. I know you not, baby. But what you gon' do with it? That's when the idea came. Not a flash of inspiration, but a slow, solid knowing. I looked around the parlor. The pocket doors, the crown molding, the fireplace that hadn't worked in 27 years but still stood beautiful. This house had held so much. Weddings, funerals, Sunday dinners, family arguments, children being born, elders passing on. It had been a refuge, a gathering place, a fortress against a world that didn't always welcome us. Could be that again. 6 months later, the Washington Family Brownstone Community Center opened its doors. We kept Big Mama's parlor exactly as it was, plastic runners and all, but the other floors became something new. Financial literacy workshops happened in the dining room where I'd learned to count my blessings before I counted my money. Youth mentoring sessions filled the bedrooms where my mother and her siblings had slept. And every Sunday we still had family dinner. but now it was open to the neighborhood. Anyone who needed a hot meal, a listening ear, or just a reminder that they belonged somewhere. Tyler didn't come to the opening. He was too busy dealing with his court dates and the restitution payments he'd be making for the next 8 years. His mother tried to guilt me about it once, said I was being unforgiving. I told her forgiveness and consequences could coexist, and that Tyler was learning a lesson Big Mama tried to teach him years ago. You can't steal what ain't yours and expect to prosper. I was sitting on the stoop that first Sunday after we opened, watching the sun set over Harlem, sipping sweet tea from Big Mama's good china, when a little girl from the block walked past with her mother. She stopped, looked up at the brownstone, at the fresh paint and the polished lion head knockers and said, "Mama, that's the most beautiful house I ever seen." Her mother smiled. "That's the Washington house, baby. That's legacy." I raised my teacup to them, feeling the weight of every generation that had sat on this stoop before me, and the promise of every generation that would come after. Tyler had thought he could sell our history for a down payment on somebody else's future. But history, real history, can't be sold. It can only be protected, honored, and passed on to those who understand what it means. And now, finally, I understood. If this journey resonated with you today, do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button and drop a comment letting me know what part of the world you're repping. I need to know who's riding with me. Your words down there might be the exact spark someone needs to keep their fire burning when they feel like giving up. We share these truths so nobody has to feel like they're fighting in the dark alone. Stay woke, watch the company you keep, and never forget that your life is a reflection of the moves you choose to make. Stay solid, you feel me?